Good morning, Unity Church. If you can please stand, we're going to sing We're All Friends Here. And now for our congregational blessing.
We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you.
Thank you, everybody. Am I on?
No.
I didn't think so. It didn't sound like it. Am I on now? There, now I am on. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome, everybody. It is so good to see you on this morning. And I know that I have to do something with this, but we'll see if that works. My dresser here. Thank you. Oh, so before we begin this morning, I just wanted to briefly review the new state mandates for wearing masks. And it is this, that if you have been vaccinated, you may choose whether or not you wear your mask in our setting here. It's all public settings except in certain places that don't even affect us. So if you've been fully vaccinated and choose to wear your mask here, you may, but you don't need to. If you have not been vaccinated, the mandate says that we are required to do masks. And so Ken and I have been fully vaccinated, but so that both vaccinated people feel comfortable and unvaccinated people don't feel pointed out, we're going to wear our own face coverings unless we're speaking. So if you have other questions, just let me know and we can talk about it together, and I can show you the new guidelines, and they're also posted on the wall out in the hallway. So we just want everyone to feel comfortable and to feel happy as we move through the very end, we hope, of the pandemic and just get beyond all of this. And I do appreciate all the care that this congregation has taken during this whole 18 months so that we are keeping each other safe. Now, let us please begin with prayer, closing your eyes if you're comfortable, settling yourself on your chair, just sort of taking a moment and scanning your body, seeing if there's any tension anywhere. And if there is, just breathing into it and letting it go. Knowing that for this hour, there is nothing that needs to be held on to at all, except knowing you are right here, right now, to receive. If there's no other time during the week where you feel like you can be a receiver, on Sunday mornings between 10:30 and 11:30, that is your gift. So as we move through our morning together, we do so with joy, we do so with gratitude, and we do so with love. So with great love and gratitude in my heart for each of you who are here and each of you who have chosen to join us from afar this morning, we say thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. And Gabrielle, will you please light our Christ candle for us? Thank you. Thank you. And now together, let us join with Gabrielle in saying, "We light this candle to remind us that the light of Christ lives within each one of us." And together, let us say, "I am the light of Christ." Thank you, and thanks, Gabrielle. And now, if you'll please join in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who is everywhere present, wholeness is your name. Your kingdom is come. Your will is being done, in earth as it is in heaven. You give us this day and every day our daily bread, and you forgive us as we forgive. You leave us not in temptation, for you deliver us from error. For you are the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Reverend Ken.
Now it is time to turn on my microphone. How's that? How's that? All right. Okay, now's the time for our affirmation, and the affirmation for the month of June, and it is for healing. And healing, we know, comes from the idea that this moment that we can release and lessen and listen to our well-being. We can attune to spirit and recognize as healing and renewing vitality within ourselves. And we know that we live within that flow of healing. And the affirmation goes as follows. Healing energy flows throughout my being, renewing my mind and body. And we are blessed as we realize that within ourselves. And now for our UCIR consciousness statement. So let's say this together. Divine Spirit order, now manifesting in every phase of this ministry through its expanding prosperity, attendance, and by being a light on the path for others. And we are blessed as we move into our joy song. I stand for you.
So if you would all like to stand, and if you have a shaker, this is a good shaking song. Daily Word Al.
Thank you.
Oh, Al,
Thank you.
before you start, may I say something?
Please.
Happy Father's Father's Day to all of you fathers. Oh, yay for dads and grandpas and father surrogates. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome to you all. Am I on? Doesn't sound like. Hello. Hello. There we are. There we are. How we doing, Alice? Okay? Loud and clear? Oh, stop it. Stop it. Well, welcome to you all, and a special welcome to all you folks joining us from afar. Please join with us in the daily word and the celebration of that. The theme today, the thought today is Father's love. And as I read through that, special feelings for my father. And there may be those of you among us whose the biological father was not the most comfortable relationship, but hopefully there is a father figure that has been very important to you throughout your life that you want to give special thoughts to today. But as I kind of go back in my thoughts, way, way back to a little town, Poseyville, Indiana, 1,000 people in the southern part of Indiana. You'd never guess that from my enunciation of words and that, but it's the southern part of Indiana, which is further south than a half of Kentucky. God bless Indiana. But anyway, my father was a country doctor, and my grandfather was a country doctor. So they did lots of things. In those days, they made house calls, whether that was 2 in the morning or whatever. If somebody was sick, my father went. And oftentimes, I would go with him. That was my special joy as a little kid. Dad, can I go? Yep. Al, would you like to go? Yeah. And on those special moments of going through the countryside, which was a farming community, I got to experience a lot of things with my father. Some were tragic, some were very inspirational, but he, in those events, kind of taught me a lot about life and gave me a very good feeling about it, all of which I might add, pastors, that I feel are very much a part of unity and our opportunity to serve the unity spirit. So, Dad, with you today, and thanks for everything. The theme today is I give thanks for my father and all expressions of fatherly love. Please join me. I give thanks for my father and all expressions of fatherly love. I treasure my childhood memories of feeling safe when my father or a father figure in my life was nearby. I remember my father's encouragement as I was learning to ride a bike, as we explored the wonders of nature together, and as he taught me to use money wisely. Even when I made youthful mistakes, my father's sometimes stern but always wise judgment helped me find the way back to my right path. Today, I give thanks for both the sacred human and the unfolding expression of God within my father and everyone who has blessed me with fatherly love. Today, I pray for my father and for all fathers, affirming for each of them growing wisdom, understanding, and willingness to nurture others with a father's encouraging love. These thoughts were inspired by a verse from John 15th chapter, 9th verse, that reads, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love."
As we prepare for meditation, we relax into the seats. We feel that support. We focus on our breathing. We feel the oneness of the love in this sanctuary. Feeling the light and the energy flow in and through us. For we are truly blessed to be in this place together. For it is truly a divine appointment. We were meant to be here today. We were meant to be together and share this energy of faith. So as we prepare to go within and listen to that still, quiet voice, listen for guidance, listen for wisdom, or just rest in the peace of knowing that you are a creator with the indwelling Spirit. Now, gently let go and let God into the silence. As we gently return to this time and this place, we bring with us that feeling of inner peace. And throughout this afternoon, we can return at any time to feel that oneness, to feel the joy, the healing energy that is within us. For we are truly the indwelling Spirit, one, whole, and complete. So as we come forth from this meditation, we know that there are those who are not with us at this moment. So we bring their energy into this circle by mentioning their name aloud, sending them prayer, sending them desire for their highest and best. So let's mention their name aloud now. Together. We know we unfold all of these names in the healing energy of the light, joining with them all of the names in our prayer box, all of the names and prayers that have been sent to Silent Unity. For we are one in spirit, and we know thy work has been done, that the energy has been sent. And even names that bubble up later in this afternoon, we know that Spirit knows these names, and they are blessed, and they are held to their highest and best. And we know all prayer begins with ourselves. So let's put our name consciously into the center of this whirling energy. Together, Kenneth. And this energy flows out into the community, blessing all those around us, throughout the city, throughout the state, through the country, throughout the world. For we are the peace of the world, beginning here and now. We are the healing of the world, beginning here and now. And so it is. And now we get to move into another celebration song, and it's one of my favorites, Stand.
That was a great introduction, Ken, because it's the name of the song, but it also guided you as to what to do.
Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. We are making a new world now. We are making a new world now.
Okay. You know, sometimes I wear that harnessy thing and the switch to turn me on goes one way, and sometimes I just wear it on my skirt and it goes another. And directionality is really hard for me at best, but when I get these changes, let me think, am I on or off? Oh, wow. Thank you. I want to be. So, our songs this morning really gave the entire message, didn't it? I honor the wholeness of you. You're the mirror of my soul. And then I stand for peace, and I stand for joy, and I stand for love. That is what it is. We are standing in truth. So we have that greater truth, that standing in the truth of the spiritual realm. And then we all have individual truths. Each of us were created with our own path to follow, our own way to go. And I have a wonderful banner that hangs over my desk at home. The year that I got licensed and was back in Unity Village, there was something I wanted to get as a little treasure for myself so that I would absolutely remember that time. And so I shopped and shopped in the bookstore, and I looked, and finally I found this banner. And it says, "Become loyal to your innermost truth. Follow the way when all others abandon it. Walk the path of your own heart." And I just love that because it always reminds me when I can get drawn off if somebody says, "Oh, Carolyn, are you sure?" Or, "Did you think about it this way?" Okay, turn within and see if there's validity. But remember, I was given a path to follow, and I need to remain true to that path. So today we're going to be talking about the 8th Beatitude. It is, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteous sake, for they will enter the kingdom of heaven." And this is the final beatitude. However, Unlike the others, which are just these pithy, nice little statements, it's quite lengthy and it actually has 2 parts. And so today we're going to talk about righteousness and when we can be persecuted for righteousness. And then next week we're going to do the last part, and June takes us through all the Beatitudes. And then we will have finished all of the requests that people made for what they wanted to have talked about on Sundays. That being said, I will love your input with more of what you want to hear. That way I don't have to think it up all myself each week. So that would be great. If you have things you want to hear, just take a piece of paper off the back shelf and write it down, and I'll strongly, strongly consider it. So you remember that several weeks ago when we talked about righteousness, we talked about it as meaning right thinking. We can be upstanding and good people, and that's sort of the common understanding of righteousness. But righteousness in its truest sense of the word is right thinking. And some of you know that the Unity Convention was this last week, and it was all virtual this year, so Ken and I were here for the 5 days in our office on our Zoom screen, looking at all of the different presentations, many of which were very inspiring and good. And I went to a workshop that was titled Spiritual Community, Discovering the Power of the Christ Within. Actually, it was Spiritual Community as Laboratory. And I thought, what a great, great title, because aren't we as a community a laboratory for learning all that we need to know about ourselves and about others? It's a great experimental venue. Anyway, this workshop that I went to was run by a minister named Reverend Anna Schuss, and she is from one of the churches in Texas, and I really like her. And she told a story at the beginning of her talk, and this was Reverend Anna's story. She had a flower committee, sort of like Kay probably, but clearly not as effective, because she went into church one Sunday, and sitting on the altar were dead flowers. And being a minister, her first thought was, of course, oh, well, I've got to do something with the flowers. Maybe I can find some plastic flowers someplace. And then she remembered her truth. And her truth is, whenever I enable someone else in their bad behavior, I am not honoring the Christ within me, nor am I honoring the Christ within them. And so she took a deep breath and swallowed hard, and she left the dead flowers on the altar, knowing that she might be criticized and persecuted for not being a nice, good minister and making the sanctuary look nice. And so she went through the service with these dead flowers on the altar. She never said a thing about it. She didn't apologize for them being there. She didn't defend her committee or herself. And as we all know, when we let other people take the consequences of their behavior, usually it doesn't occur again. And she said, never again did they have dead flowers on their altar. So Reverend Anna was courageous. She stood in her truth, honoring the Christ within her, knowing that if she was to be, I'm going to use the word upstanding, honorable person, she had to let there be consequences for bad behavior. And she did. And it changed things. And I can imagine that her behavior did not affect just the flower committee, but every person in the church, because they knew that if they didn't take their responsibility, Reverend Anna was not going to pick up the pieces for them. It's really a wonderful, wonderful lesson. We as a society are caregivers. Many of us were raised to be enablers, although that was not the word that was used at the time that most of us were raised. But I don't know about you, but I had a mother who, when anything appeared like it was going to go wrong, stepped in and took care of it so that it would be nice, so it would be lovely. Because my mom came from the belief system that everything in her outer environment reflected who she was as a person. One time she said to me, and probably my sister, although I was really little at the time, she said, Carolyn, every time you chew gum on the street, you are a reflection of your father, so do not chew gum on the street. Oh, like Al, my dad was a country doctor too, and everybody in town knew him and his family. So what we have to remember is that we have to be bold. We have to be courageous. We have to stand in our truth and let everyone else stand in theirs. And when we honor that Christ self, that spirit within other people, even when they're doing bad behavior, they learn that there is more to them than they imagined they were, because someone gave them the opportunity to grow up into the consciousness that is within them. I was married at one time, it actually is the girl's dad, to a man who was a very unkind man. And because I was who I was at the time, and because he was unkind, it wasn't a very good combination, because I did everything that I could to protect myself from his unkindness. And so I lived, just selling my soul, if you want to say that, so that I would feel safer, so that I would not have his wrath directed against me or the girls. It was only much, much later that I learned that what I was doing was enabling his bad behavior. He probably would have been unkind anyway, but by always smoothing the waters, I was making it so that he could be as mean as he wanted to be, knowing that I would be right there to level things out. It was not a service to me and my daughters, and it was not a service to him, because he never had the opportunity, if he was able to watch his own behavior and feel the consequences of it. Just take a minute and think of your own life. Are there any places in your life where you do whatever you need to do to keep the peace? Or you do whatever you need to do to keep others off your back? And if you can get yourself into that place for just a moment, think about how that really feels. Do you ever feel like you are betraying yourself? That you are persecuting yourself for your right thinking, for knowing that you can stand in your truth without being unkind to another, but by being truthful. By saying, hey, enough is enough. I am a child of God. I deserve the same respect and the same caring and the same love that you do. It's hard. It is hard to learn. But as we begin to learn, we grow more and more deeply into our consciousness, or higher, deep or high, however you choose to see it, knowing that we are sons and daughters of God, and that we were not made to pick up everybody else's pieces, that we were made to let each person become responsible for his or herself. When we can do that, when we can so strongly believe that God lives within us and is guiding us on our own path, we live in the kingdom. What is better than living from your highest self? Don't you just get that feeling of peace and of goodness? Yeah, and we can stop looking to the outside all the time for who we are. Sometimes it's reflected back the way we'd like to see it, but a lot of times it isn't. Who we are comes from our beautiful Christ Spirit within. And when we claim that, we are living, standing in truth. Last night, Jim and I watched a movie called The Identical. And it was a nice story. It was about identical twins who were separated at birth for sad reasons. But nonetheless, the story went on. And the young man who had been given actually, to an evangelical minister's family, had a calling. His calling was that he wanted to be a singer, and he was a very good singer, and he wanted to be a rock singer. His father's calling from the time he was very little, actually from the time this baby had been given to him and his wife, was that this boy would follow in his footsteps and become an evangelical minister. So he groomed this boy from the time he was little to do all the right things, to be a minister. And this boy was never fully happy. He would go to honky-tonks at night. It was in the South. And he would go to honky-tonks at night, and he would sing. And his dad would punish him for it. But when he was singing, he just knew he was on his path, following his calling. One night, his mother said to him, "When are you going to follow your calling?" And he stopped. And she said, "It's time. It's time for you to tell your dad." And he just looked at her. And he was probably 20 at the time. But he said, "Will you do it?" And he's sort of like a 5-year-old would do. How many times have you been called to do something and want to say, "Oh, please do it for me. This is just more than I want to do." The mother was wise. The mother said, "No. If you are going to grow up to be a man who walks his own path, you need to do this. You need to tell your father that his path is not yours." And so the young man got it together, and he breathed deeply, and he did it, and he told his dad, and his dad was very unhappy and not really very kind to him. But the boy did it anyway. He became a singer. And his identical twin that had stayed with the birth parents became a singer who was like an Elvis Presley type singer, beloved, and the girls all followed him and that kind of thing. And this boy was called the Identical, because nobody knew he was an identical twin, and nobody knew that this great voice that he had was genetics. So it was really quite a beautiful story about learning to follow your own path. What this mother did with her son, and Reverend Anna in her workshop that I attended, remind us that the truth is not always pretty. To stand in our own truth and to have to say to somebody, "No, I can do it by myself. I am a fully capable, functioning human being." And then be firm enough to do it. Or to say no to somebody. "No, thank you for wanting to step in and help me, but this time I need to do it by myself." Now, this does not mean that we don't help people, that we don't assist people. It means that we do not step in and take over when they are fully capable of doing it themselves. Or when we feel somebody on our back and we don't stand up and say, "Hey, enough is enough." That is standing in our own truth. So, in thinking about kindness and standing in truth, I began thinking about Jesus. And I thought about Jesus when he confronted the Pharisees about being hypocrisies, about living in hypocrisy. My guess is that Jesus was not standing there just having a little conversation. He was saying, "Look, you guys, you're not living the truth that God is." And he was bold and he was courageous. Being bold and courageous is not unkind. It is straightforward. And unless we tell the truth straightforwardly, we can get sort of wishy-washy. And then people don't know exactly what we're saying, which is sort of what we want. We want to tell the truth, but we won't want to say it in such a way that people might think we're not very nice. So we have to be courageous, and we have to say the truth as it is. My truth as it is. Your truth what it is what it is. Knowing that the overlying umbrella is living in God's truth. And some people say, "Well, how do I know if my truth is in alignment with God's truth?" When we're coming from a place of love, peace, and joy, even though it may not always feel like that inside, we are living in alignment with God's truth. And have you ever noticed when you have an idea or you want to say something or you want to behave in a certain way, and you wonder, am I living in God's truth or is just this my truth? That you have this sort of niggly feeling inside. When we're not standing in the truth that is our truth and that greater truth, we always have a little feeling. This feeling that is not absolutely authentic. And this is what the boy in the movie had. He knew he was following a good path to become a minister, but it wasn't his path. Reverend Anna, I'm sure, had that feeling in the beginning of, oh, shall I just leave the dead flowers or shall I not leave the dead flowers? But she did, and she was showing us that the truth doesn't always look nice, but it can still be the truth. I thought about Jesus and the lame man by the pool at Bethsaida. Remember, he'd lain on his pallet for like 20 years, watching the bubbling waters and seeing people go into the waters to get healed. And he laid on his pallet because he didn't think he could get to the waters. And he whined and he complained. And one day Jesus came up. And Jesus didn't say, oh, you poor man lying here for 20 years, let me help you into the pools. And he didn't say, oh, would you like any help? May I help you into the pool so you can get healed? No, he said, pick up your pallet and walk. Pick up your pallet and walk. I'm sure that there must have been a heck of a lot of stuff going through the lame man's mind. But somebody said it to him clearly and firmly, and he picked up his pallet. And when he did, Jesus didn't say, oh, let me help you a minute. You haven't walked for 20 years. No, Jesus let him walk. Jesus honored the Christ in the lame man, knowing that he could do for himself, did not have to have someone else do for him. And Jesus lived with his own connection to the Father with Spirit, knowing that his job in this particular instance was to let the man know that he was already healed. It's a great story. I love that story. So what I'd like to leave us with today is standing in truth. When we stand in truth, regardless what the words may sound like having to confront someone with bad behavior, if we're doing it because we love this person, because we want to be joyful, we want to feel joyful, we want them to feel joyful, and because we want peace. I tell you, I do not believe for one instant that the man that I was married to who was mean ever lived in peace. When we're unkind, we don't have a peaceful feeling in us, do we? Never. So we can know that when we live from those two places, love, peace, and joy, that we are in alignment with God's truth, the greatest truth. And we are not only walking our own path, like my banner tells me, but we are walking on the path that God chose individually for us. This week, I encourage each one of us to watch our behaviors. When am I doing something to sort of watch my own back, keep somebody off my back? Or when am I doing something to keep the water smooth, when maybe a little bit of turbulence could lead to greater peace? When am I out of alignment with my truth? And then being bold and brave and courageous. I would like to finish with a verse from Joshua. Joshua was an Israelite, and after Moses died, Joshua was the one who was chosen by God to continue taking the Israelites into the promised land. And as you can imagine, following Moses would be a pretty darn hard job, wouldn't it? He was a powerful man. But listen to what God said to Joshua. Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Hold that with you this week. Be strong, be courageous, knowing that God is with you wherever you go. And you can stand in your truth, knowing that you are supported, and you are loved, and you are cared for deeply, just because you are who you are. Remember, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you, because it is in each one of us. Have a great week this week, and thank you.
Everyone notices, as Carolyn, I'm fighting also with the sound equipment, because that little holster thing that she was talking about that sometimes is backwards, I can't find mine. So I'm having to hold on to it and put it in my pocket, and I can't sit on it. Anyway, thank you, Carolyn, for that wonderful message. And we'll mention a few other things a little bit later, but that's probably one of the strongest messages that really brings our faith forward. Thank you for it. Well, let's hold our offerings in our hands and know that this is the way that we reach out and bless our spiritual community. It is through your giving of your time, your talents, and your treasure that makes unity such a strong movement and this community viable. So let's hold our offering in our hands and let's bless it together.
Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
And we are blessed.
Great, thank you. I accept these gifts with such gratitude. We know that when we give with a generous heart, that we receive even more than what we give. And so for each person who donates their time, their talent, and their treasure to Unity Church in Reading, I say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And as we know, the gifts that we offer on Sunday morning go for the support of Unity Church in Reading, for our community, and for our world. So to each of you who give, to each of you who choose to receive, I say thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. The tea party? Oh, thank you, yes. Yesterday, as you all know, we had a wonderful, wonderful tea party thank you to to Kathy, and to Nancy, and to Aletha. It was decorated just beautifully, and the treats that they brought, it was wonderful. And to everybody who donated, we had a marvelous silent auction and raffle. And just yesterday alone, we generated about $740. So thank you to everybody who participated in that. We'll have a more whole count next week because we have to factor into that the money from the tickets. So anyway, we are an incredibly generous congregation. We are not only generous to ourselves, but we always have plenty, not only to tithe to our mother organizations, but also into the community. So just love yourself for the generous heart that you have. Yes, yes. And Nancy was reminding me, we have two wonderful gifts. We have 2 boxes of chocolate that Jerry has made, and they are $10 each. So if you would like a box of chocolate, please see Jerry or see me or to Ken, somebody, and we'll get you the chocolate. It's in the refrigerator, so it hasn't melted. The church office will be open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 until 4. We have prayer before service and after service, and this morning Ken is our prayer chaplain. He'll be sort of back here. You can always call in for prayer, and Ken or me, or if one of our prayer chaplains is here, we'll be happy to pray with you, or we can always let your prayer chaplain know that you would like her to call you. Our noon meditation is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from noon to 12:20, and we have a new call-in number. Your access number is the same, but we've put the new call-in number on the board in the hallway, but and it's in the e-blast, and it'll be in the e-news on the first of the month. But please, if you enjoy calling in for prayer and you want that new number, just see one of us after church and we'll give it to you. The groups that meet this week are A Course of Love and A Course of Miracles. A Course of Love meets Wednesday mornings at 10 o'clock with Reverend Ken facilitating, and A Course in Miracles is Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. It's a wonderful group. I don't know if any of you recall, but before the pandemic, we had 12, 14 people every Wednesday morning. It was Wednesdays then for A Course in Miracles. And this week we made it up to 10, so we're growing and expanding. It's really exciting, yes. You can check the bulletin board for our 12-step programs this week, and we have 2 that are meeting with us right now. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday, where we will absolutely finish up the Beatitudes, and we'll enjoy each other. But before we sing our peace song today, because there are many of you who know that I've been filled with some anxiety over the last actually 18 months about my young family who has lived in Myanmar, and prior to that lived in Uganda. And they really haven't had a home for 18 months. They were in and out of Myanmar, and then they were nomads here in America for a while. Yesterday, they arrived in Cambodia, which is their new home, and they will be living in Cambodia for at least 4 years. So right now, 5 of them are in a hotel room, quarantined for 2 weeks. So with 3 boys, can you imagine? So anyway, they are very happy to be establishing a home again. And as far away as it is, I still feel far more settled knowing that they have a place that theirs to live. So please stand.
I've got one more thing.
Not yet.
I've got one more thing. One of the action items during the convention last week was the Chief Executive Officer of Worldwide Headquarters, which is Unity Village itself. He did about a 10-minute presentation on what the Unity looks like that they are trying to build, because they've been going through a lot of areas of dealing with prejudices since, what was it, 1954, before a black person could stay on campus. You know, so there's a history that they're working through, and they're doing all of these things to be more inclusive of all of the people that Unity reaches out to. And one of the things that they talked about during that presentation is consistency in the message. They talked about that often people find unity by looking it up online or calling or going online to Unity Village and finding the mission, the community closest to them. And then when they show up, it's not what they expected because it isn't a unity verbiage. So one of the things that we talked about was, what is unity and what does it mean? And I think the message that we heard this morning was exactly on point for what unity is. I really appreciate that foundational message that it is working within ourselves to make us walk that path in integrity and in alignment while holding the highest and best for everyone around us. And that was really the message that they talked about this last week, and you'll hear a little bit more about it later. Thank you.
And we have a board meeting on Tuesday afternoon at 3, and I am going to be showing that video clip at the board meeting. And if any of you choose to come and see, Jim Blake was powerful. He's the CEO of Worldwide Headquarters. And it was a powerful message. So if you are interested in seeing it, that's what I can do first at our meeting on Tuesday afternoon at the board meeting, and then you can leave. But anyway, you're welcome to join if you're interested in seeing that. Yes? Yes. Karen gave us a flyer and a number to call. You would like to take the phone class. Alice would like to take the phone class. I would like to take the phone class. I know that there are others of you that are. And so we've been following up. And Ken, you spoke to the head person last week. Would you share that?
Yeah, I will. The message that we received from the state of California was they had not received authorization to do any in-person training. Even though the governor had come out with the new dictums for businesses and individuals, that takes time, and they said that it takes often 30 days before it's actually integrated in state philosophy. So he just signed a new direct order on Thursday that allowed the state to take up that mandate as soon as possible. So the trainer has to retrain the people who did the classes, because they haven't done classes now for over a year and a half. So we're on the list to again present those classes, but they didn't think it would happen before sometime late July at the earliest.
Diana?
What we used to do is we used to have a class every month on the smartphone. So if you had an Android smartphone, you could come in. The classes were 6 to 8 people. They would go through all of the methodology of a smartphone, from how to turning it on, to using it for phone calls, to using it as a camera, to using it to get onto the internet.
And they were really, they gave lots of one-on-one attention. It was an incredibly good class. And just so you know, Karen, when actually Ken was the one that made the call, but he let the people know that we have at least 3 people that would attend the class in person. Yeah, but
Right.
at the time, we only had 3
And there
names,
was
so
a
we
separate
said
class
we
for
had
iPhones.
At least, yeah. So as soon as they say yes, our people who, their business is right up here at the front of our driveway, they're as eager to do it as we are. Yeah.
And she said that the more phone calls that were made by the more people was very good. If a lot of people made the phone calls, that would tell them that there was more people that wanted to make it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we copy the flyer and we open it out.
We can do that. I think that it was pretty clear the other day when Ken spoke that they hope within the next month to get it going. And if it doesn't, what we'll do is we can have a telephone campaign.
Okay, but if they're working on it, maybe we should.
Well, that was my feeling, because we've done 3 calls now, I think. And I think you called, and I think somebody else called. So anyway, we'll just keep you alerted. But even, you can take the class twice, and they probably will start that 2 times over again since we've had COVID. But, I mean, people would walk out of that class, and they were just enthralled because they finally knew how to use their phone. So, anyway,
And we'll continue to talk with them
yeah.
on an ongoing
We
basis.
won't let it go. Yeah. Okay, so, Gabrielle, peace song. Please stand up and join us. prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the light, the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We embrace that power.
The presence of God watches over us.
We live our lives in God's presence.
Wherever we are, God is. And so it is. And for those who haven't been here for a while, we forgot to announce that we're doing it a little differently. So have a wonderful week, everybody, and I'll see you next